Maybe even now.
No harm being open.
Nancy J. Powell. 10 trees are going to plant in the national scale in India. To honor Dr. T. Ramaswamy, Department of Science and Technology, who is a partner in our program, with a certificate of 10 trees, which FICCI is going to plant this spring. And to honor Mr. Saurabh Sharma, Minister of Flowers, our Secretary General has adapted to give a tree plantation. I am with requesting Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Secretary General of FICCI.
Your Excellency Ambassador Pal, Mr. Arun Maira, Dr. Ramaswamy, Mr. Mittal, Saurabh, ladies and gentlemen, it really is a very special privilege to welcome you all, and special really sort of honor to welcome friends who have all excelled in their own fields. I'm obviously referring to the people on the dais. It's always so, it's such a heartwarming feeling to welcome people who helped us achieve what we have achieved so far, and then to share with you on this very special day the launch of the Millennium Alliance, which I think is one of the, which will probably, if I'm not overstating, it will mark a milestone in changing the nature of relationship between USAID and its partners in India. Because I think for the first time we have a project where it's not a question of donor and recipients, but it's a question of two partners acting together to achieve a common goal. I think that's something so important, and I really am proud to say that FICCI has been, is one of the players in this regard. And also the fact that this is a unique partnership which has the USAID, the US administration that is, the government of India, and a private sector partner like FICCI coming together. So it's a trilateral partnership, and all of this is premised upon two central understandings, two central assumptions. One, that our two great societies are based on private sector innovativeness and dynamism, and which is what this project tends to sort of push forward. And the fact that and it is the innovations at the grassroots level which will help us to achieve equitable and rapid growth in this country. And I think both those words are very important. I think that's the central premise, one of the central premises of this project. And the second premise, which I, as not as an economist but somebody who's dabbled in international relations, say is that the second premise is that such projects create the foundations of building greater trust between our two countries, building on win-win relationships. It's not a situation, it's not transactional, it's not demanding one from the other, it's trying to do things together, for taking the interests of the people at the bottom of the pyramid forward. And I think so both those premises are so well fulfilled in this project that I feel, as I said, it's a very special day for us to be all here together. I do want to sort of point out the fact that when there is a will, there can be a very short way forward. And I'm saying this because it was in September 2011 that I happened to meet Dr. Rajiv Shah in Washington. September 2011, it was followed up, and we just initially approached this idea at that point of time in a short meeting in DC. It was followed up by his visit in December, if I'm not mistaken, December and January, and we at that time already had worked on the idea good enough for us to sign an MOU to come together declaring our intent to work on this. And 6 months later, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, launching this project in all its completeness, with the support extended by USAID of $7.5 million, the government of India having committed $5 million, initial tranches of those money already received, the project design having been implemented, and today is the beginning of the period when we invite innovators to submit bids to us. So as I said, September 2011 to July 2012, if we want, we can do very complicated things together in a very short time. And I think it's all due to the wonderful teamwork that is on the US8 team's part and on the part of FICCI's team, led by the two team leaders there, William and Nirankar. Thank you very much for that. And it's really a special honor to welcome you here again, amidst us. Mr. Ambassador Pal, I just wanted to bring out the fact that, we, under this project, we have this amazing opportunity that we have both the supply of innovations with us, and also the resources to nurture and scale them up. The supply of it comes from our own project in FICCI, which is the Lockheed, DST, Department of Science and Technology, Lockheed Martin's Department of Science and Technology, and FICCI's program, which have been doing for several years now, and which we have actually, identified many innovators and sent them for training at the University of Texas at Austin. But also we want to collaborate with other agencies to improve the supply of innovations, people like Honeybee under Professor Gupta at IIM Ahmedabad. We would like to collaborate with, I just met up with somebody called Dr. Abhay Bang, who is working in Gadri-Chiroli on lowering the neonatal mortality in India. And the cost of that, he has discovered, I found out wonderful, is to saving per human life is $10, less than $10 in his project in the Gadri-Chiroli model, while across the world it is $10,000. So we would like to work with them, and we like to work with everybody in this country who is actually bringing forward these great innovative ideas which are rooted to the people's need, which are rooted in the environment in which they live, and which are suited to India's own needs, and then to be able to transfer them across to other states, other countries, and Africa is particularly in my mind. And there is where we will hope to use the USAID's offices and reach to make them, to scale them, to replicate them, first after having identified and tested them. And the Millennium Alliance that we're going to launch today has all these objectives, and I'm sure that with this sort of team spirit that we have demonstrated so far, and the rootedness and the focus that we have achieved so far, the two teams, I'm sure we will do it together. The last one about the resources that I do want to mention is that we have with us Dr. Ramaswamy, who has led it from the front as the Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, and committed to us his support, his financial support. We've also got Saurabh Srivastava, who heads one of the angel funds, investor funds in this country, the Angel Network, and other venture capital funds. So what we are trying to do is to invite these funds and others, and other agencies like, maybe the other bilateral agencies like the DFED, JICA, JBIC, etc. Because our objective, and I'm not saying that this is, I hope you will agree that this is not going to be a pie in the sky, is to build this into a $50 million fund within the few months going forward, within the next few years going forward. And I'm sure that this is an amount that will be used effectively and usefully in this project. And therefore, I really have, once again, the great pleasure of welcoming you all, Ambassador Pal, Arun, Mr. Arun Maira, Dr. Ramaswamy, and all of you, ladies and gentlemen, and the people in the media who've really sort of heartened me by this wonderful, presence here. I had never expected that innovativeness would be such a topic of interest, but now I know that innovation it is which will take this country forward, and you have demonstrated this by coming here this morning. Thank you very much.
Dr. Kumar, for your valued direction and address to us. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are all honored to have the Ambassador Powell with us. I'd like to request Ambassador Nancy J. Powell for her special address. And before I invite her, I'd like to tell, prior to President Barack Obama nominating her at this position, Ambassador Powell was Director General of the Foreign Services and the Director of Human Resources, and she was the United States Ambassador to Nepal from 2007 to 9. Now, may I request Ambassador Nancy J. Powell for her address.
Namaste. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. Let me say a very big thank you for the warm welcome this morning, and let me also thank Dr. Ramaswamy, Mr. Srivastava, Mr. Maira, and Dr. Kumar for being here today to launch this exciting initiative, the Millennium Alliance, a joint partnership between FICCI, the Government of India, and the United States Agency for International Development, USAID. I'm delighted today to speak to you about the United States Transformed Development Partnership with India and how our two countries are working together, building on the successes of the last 60 years, to inspire social innovation and improve the lives of people all over the world. The United States and India have a long and successful history working together, particularly in the area of development. For more than 50 years, the United States and India have used transformative technologies to address critical development challenges in food production, climate variability, health, education, and energy. For decades, scientists, engineers, and social innovators from India and the United States have worked side by side. One of the most well-known examples of this is the scientific collaboration that led to the Green Revolution in India, that saved literally millions of lives here and around the world. In the early years of our relationship, we provided basic commodities and infrastructure and helped to nurture scientific and technological institutions. In recent years, however, our partnership with India has transformed dramatically. India has risen to become both a leading global power as well as an important partner of the United States. India is a dynamic, democratic, and market-driven power with its 1.2 billion citizens, a growing economy, pluralistic society, and stable democratic institution. It is emerging as a global economic force as a member of the G20, and in the next 20 years, it is projected to become one of the 5 largest economies in the world. India's dramatic growth has lifted millions out of poverty. India is an equal partner in our quest to bring technologies that transform people's lives to other parts of the world. Nowhere is the impact of our society's complementary strengths more evident than in our technological and innovation partnership. In one recent example, the U.S.-India Science and Technology Endowment Fund selected its first grant awardee, a bilateral partnership that has created a cold storage solution for the preservation of healthy fruits and vegetables. I want to especially thank Dr. Ramasamy, Mr. H.K. Mittal of the Technology Development Board, and their colleagues throughout the Ministry of Science and Technology for their visionary leadership and dynamic partnership on this and many other bilateral initiatives, including this Millennium Alliance. India is known the world over as a center of scientific and technological excellence, with a large pool of talent. Just as India has applied creativity and innovation to information technology and other scientific areas where India excels, innovative solutions to development challenges can also be identified, tested, and scaled in India and around the world for sustained global impact. As a pioneer of game-changing innovations that are pushing the boundaries of what is possible in development, India can be considered one of the world's leading development innovation laboratories. We want to work with India's knowledge base and wealth of talent and creativity to raise incomes and improve livelihoods for people in India and globally. We want to inspire more and more social innovators to come up with solutions to society's most intractable development challenges, and we want to share these solutions with the world. Ultimately, we hope to foster generations of innovative thinkers and leaders who will contribute to improving the lives of people everywhere. The progress both our nations have made in the last 6 decades is a testament to our strong partnership, but we hope to add a new chapter to that partnership as we work together to confront some of the greatest development challenges of all time. The role of private sector plays in improving lives and addressing poverty is more critical than ever before. Today, I want to talk about why that role is so important, why innovation lies at its heart, and how the government of India, FICCI, and the United States can help drive greater progress, not just for India, but also for the world. We believe we need to work more collaboratively with a much wider range of partners, particularly private firms, be they foreign or domestic, established, or entrepreneurial. By fostering new ideas and forming high-impact public-private partnerships to bring these ideas to scale, we can work with Indian organizations to drive meaningful solutions to global development challenges. For instance, to strengthen food security across India, we are working with ITC Limited and Hariali Kisan Bazaar, the agricultural supermarket chain, to set up rural business hubs that have provided agricultural extension services for more than 190,000 farmers. As a result, 2/3 of these farmers have increased their productivity by 25%. The United States is also working with ITC to leverage its Rural Agricultural Distribution and Communication Network, ECHOPAL, to build demand for health products and services. For a small commission, village health champions supply rural communities with health products like water purification devices and menstrual hygiene products. Today, I am very happy to be here to help launch the Millennium Alliance, an exciting new partnership between FICCI, the Government of India, and the United States. The Millennium Alliance will leverage Indian creativity, expertise, and resources to support and scale innovative solutions to development problems that will benefit populations across India and the world. The Alliance is an inclusive platform, and we open our doors to social impact funds, venture capitalists, corporate foundations, angel investors, donors, and others who share our commitment to harnessing Indian innovation to improve the lives of the poor. The Alliance will provide innovators with essential resources such as seed funding, business incubation services, networking opportunities, and technical assistance, and will facilitate their access to equity, debt, and other capital. This joint commitment recognizes India's role as a global innovation laboratory in which development innovations can be tested, nurtured, and scaled, and in which private and public sector resources and expertise can be leveraged to reduce the cost and increase the reach of development improvements in India and around the world. The Alliance welcomes proposals from innovators across the country, entrepreneurs, NGOs, academics, the private or public sectors, or any other Indian entity that has an innovative solution to a development challenge in India in any development sector, such as education, health, agriculture, or clean energy. We look forward to a robust response to the Millennium Alliance call for applications that will be announced today. In closing, I'd like to commend FICCI and the Government of India for joining forces with us to support Indian innovation and for working together to leverage resources and maximize the impact of the Alliance. The United States is honored to be a part of this partnership. Thank you all very, very much.
A very valued address to all of us. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Dr. T. Ramaswamy, Secretary, Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And before I invite Department of Science and Technology, is engaged in development of policies and programs for attraction of talent for study and career with science and rejuvenating of research in universities, stepping up international science and technology cooperation, innovation, and commercialization. Dr. Ramaswamy.
Namaskar, very good morning. Excellency Ambassador Nancy Paul, our leader Dr. Arun Mehra, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Srivastava, Mitchell, Saxena, several household names in the Indian science, technology, business, enterprise sector assembled here today. Friends, this representative of the press and the media, very, very good morning to all of you. You recognized just now that the invitation was made. I was ready, but then the industry said, let's ask the government to wait. And so the invitation was in waiting. And I'm very, very delighted to be able to join you today at this invitation because it's a very special occasion. We are talking about the Millennium Alliance. Any alliance is great, but if the alliance is really for the millennium itself, I guess it's a very special occasion. And I also believe it's not just an alliance for the millennium in time space, but an alliance for serving millions of people, and therefore it is rather very special. What strengthens this alliance is what that makes it rather special. The cause that connects the two strong democracies in the system today, both the United States and India. And we share objectives. And of course, what the alliance is trying to do is to interconnect the competencies that will serve the millions of people. Therefore, it has a very special objective, the cause, and of course, the connecting our competencies in place. I said it earlier, somewhere else, India and US are countries which are unique to themselves and are only intercomparable within themselves too. Both nations are truly nations of immigrants, but from different time scales. We just have some 2,000 years of people coming in here. And that causes a diversity to prevail. So the diversity challenge of both the United States and US, very special, and therefore we have a common cause to deal with this diversity. Is a diversity of abilities, diversity of needs. So we have very different issues. And when we have these two great nations come together, built on the foundation of democracy, we need some glue to bind them. And I believe that glue is available. The goodwill that exists today between the two governments and the two leaderships is extremely important. I think the leadership of the President of the United States and the Prime Minister of this country to build this strategic relationship between the two countries is very well known. Recently, we had the Indo-US strategic dialogue, and it was very clear that the two large nations and democracies have come to stay and work together in a sense of partnership. And we, as I said, we have diversity, but we also have a good understanding of the issues. So the goodwill gives the G of the glue, and the understanding of issues that we want to work with gives that U. You have both, but if you don't have a leadership support, then it doesn't go anywhere. And I think the leadership support is total, and I thank the leadership of the both countries for having provided this. In fact, the ambassador of the United States took time to join us today, is a symbol of the kind of leadership support that we have. If you have all those three, but then the ethos don't connect, we have a problem. And I think the ethos connect. So the goodwill, the understanding, the leadership, and the ethos provide the glue for the two systems to come together. Then you ask the question, okay, we have decided to work together, the alliance is in position to do what, is a question. Very interestingly, innovation of the world, which is driven by the priorities of the inventor and the investor across the world, have somehow in the course of time focused on profit, and profit in a time frame. As a consequence, 2/3 of the global population gets bypassed or left out of the products of innovation. So this particular alliance is trying to address the 2/3 of the global good, the population that otherwise will get left out of this innovation drive that we are talking about. Therefore, it is an extremely special system. It talks about social inclusion as a main objective of this innovation system. What I call including the excluded or touching the untouched is an issue that we are focusing today, and therefore there's a certain nobility of the cause of this innovation that I consider as extremely crucial. Having said this, of course, we have spoken about the challenges of scaling innovations, the challenges of making the impact of the innovation reach as many people as possible. And for doing this, I think we need to get the right players into this process. And I'm very, very grateful that USAID and FICCI have come together. In fact, when my friend Dr. Rajiv Kumar was celebrating that actions have been rather fast, July to, we are discussing September to July schedule, he also mentioned that the government of India was a part. And government of India is not known for its very speedy actions. Don't worry about that. But we asked the question, how come that we participated? Because the goodness of the innovation brings the speed that was necessary with it. Very often we celebrate speed, but the most what we celebrate is the goodness of that alliance. And therefore, I like to point out to you that our priority, or the government of India's commitment to get this alliance serve the needs of people and as many people as possible and as fast as possible was reflected in the speed at which things happen here. And I'm very, very grateful for this Technology Development Board, which is an outstanding instrument provided to this country by the Act of Parliament, which has the opportunity to work with the speed that is necessary. If it had been only the Department of Science, maybe it would have done next year. Therefore, this is a crucial element. I think we are working on the global good coming from this alliance. And I sincerely thank the opportunity given to us in terms of developing this. There are very few alliances and innovation systems which actually state and include basic education as a target. And this alliance includes basic education as a target. And if you include education into an alliance of the innovation model and educate the people to perhaps live better, do better, I think we have a sustainability of that innovation system. Therefore, the fact that this particular alliance includes basic education, healthcare, the food security, energy, and water, all these are what we call social good and public good priorities. And therefore, this is special. It talks about affordability and inclusion as a major goal. Therefore, when my friend Dr. Rajiv Kumar mentioned that Ramasamy is invited, and he mentioned about my accessibility to resource investment, many places I get invited these days only because they think I have some money to invest. Jokes apart, the investment into good cause is what we are meant for. I thank the organizers for the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretary Ramasamy, for your valued address. We'd like to invite Mr. Saurabh Srivastav, Member, National Innovation Council, to give his special address. And before I invite, we'd like to announce that Saurabh is responsible to set up a National Innovation Fund, which National Innovation Council is trying to set up for 1,000 crore. He is also a founder, co-founder, and past chairman of NASHCOM. He's the founder of Indian Angel Network, which is the largest angel network in Asia, and also on the board of Entrepreneurship Innovation Board of IIT Delhi and IIT Kanpur. Mr. Saurabh Srivastav.
Ambassador Powell, Mr. Myra, Mr. Ramasamy, Mr. Mittal, Rajiv, Nirankar. It's a great pleasure for me to be here today because what we are launching is exactly what the doctor ordered. This is exactly what we should be doing. And I should tell you why I'm saying that. For all of us in this room, we would all admit, except maybe some of us who may have invested more recently in the stock market, that our lives today are immensely better than they were 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago. The way we live, the way we communicate, the way we travel, the way we consume, everything is immensely better. And the reason it's better is because entrepreneurs around the world have leveraged innovation to build scalable enterprises that have created wealth and employment and products and services that improve those lives. It has worked for the affluent part of our society. India has participated in that whole process, in that revolution. And we played a great part, and as a result, we've seen our own growth rates go up from the Hindu rate of growth of 2% to 8% and 9%. And so a lot of people have been lifted out of poverty. We have leadership positions in many industries, such as IT, globally. But we still have half of our population that has not joined this process. So we still have 70-80% of our people who don't have a bank account. Half our people who don't have access to affordable health care. Only a third as many teachers as we need. Till we fix that, yes, we've been successful as a country in the last decade, but we cannot succeed as a country. So the only way we can do that is to see how do we get the remaining part of the country into the same mold as many of us have reached. And our resources are limited, as we all know. And whenever it is that you're trying to do a lot more with a lot less, there is only one way to do it. It's innovation. You have to innovate. We have done that and solved the problems of the rich. We now need to find a way to leverage that innovation and solve the problems of the poor. This is a big focus of the National Innovation Council. And Mr. Myra, who's sitting here, knows that well. He's driving some of that at the Innovation Council. And as a member, this is what I'm engaged in as well. And so far, when we have looked at the poor, we have tended to solve it in two ways. The capital that goes is either philanthropy. It's not a large pool of capital. There are not very many Bill Gates around. The global best practice is 1% of your profit before tax goes for CSR. Most companies don't do that anyway. But even if you did, if you were doing $1 billion in revenues, you'd give less than $1 million to charity. And the other way capital goes is through governments who provide money as grants and as assistance. All of this money usually gets channeled for good work, but through organizations that are largely not-for-profit. And while you have very good, passionate, committed people who do great good, they are not the people who necessarily are focused on building scalable enterprises. And so when the money stops, the good work stops. What we need to do is to get another avenue. And that avenue, how do we leverage entrepreneurs, creating innovative ventures that can scale and grow and bring more investment in them, so that these focused on problems of the poor end up doing exactly what similar things did for the problems of the rich. So the fund that Nirankar talked about at the Innovation Council seeks to do exactly that. We want to use the same model that has worked for solving problems of the rich to solve the problems of the poor. We want to get the best brains in the world, the best brains in India. We want to get people to invest in this area, and we want to tell them that, listen, we'll give you a modest return on your capital, but we'll give you measurable social returns on what happened with your capital. This fund is something that is exactly what the Innovation Council would love to work with and support, because this is what you're doing. You're bringing capital and you're putting it for innovation and with entrepreneurs. And what we want to do is, as you invest, we bring in the other community of investors, angel investors, venture capitalists, everybody else, to help all these innovative ideas that go in, that are focused on solving the problems of the poor, to scale and grow larger and larger, even if the initial funding does not continue. That is what works on scale. So if you build this, we will unleash an entirely new class of capital that will also go towards solving the problems of the poor. So all I wanted to say is this is something that is very central. It's been tried in small doses in different places. I think this is a very valuable project that has been launched here. It has huge support from all of us, whether it's in angel networks, whether in the venture capital world, whether it's in industry. We want to all get together and make this work. The fund that the Innovation Council is setting up, hopefully it'll get to $1 billion, is again going to do exactly the same. Look at how do we leverage the model of innovation and entrepreneurship that has worked for solving the problems of the rich, how do we leverage it for solving the problems of the poor? And if we can get it right, it's the perfect country in which to try it. Unfortunately, for the wrong reasons, but we have a big market for this. Half of our population is a market. And while we have all the challenges and problems, we also have world-class entrepreneurs. We have access, we develop a lot of world-class technology, we have access to the balance. And a lot of our innovators and entrepreneurs come from tier 2 and tier 3 towns and communities where they understand what these issues are. So if we can do it right, we can then take this model and we can scale it to the rest of the world. So once again, thank you very much for inviting me. Pleasure to be here.
Ambassador Powell, Dr. Ramaswamy, Dr. Kumar, Saurabh, Mr. Mittal, Mr. Saxena, ladies and gentlemen. This morning we are celebrating two great dancers, the United States of America, the world's greatest democracy, and as we've noted again this morning, probably the most innovative nation in the world on that scale. And also, we've acknowledged that India is a large democracy, and I must say, we've begun to say that India is also an innovative nation in its own way. So here we've got these two great dancers, and what's the dance they're going to do together? That's what we're launching today, the alliance between these two great, innovative, democratic countries. The subject is innovation. Now, I want to read a question that I know that if you get asked this question, then you are thinking innovatively. And that question is when someone says, why are you trying to reinvent the wheel? Well, if you want to do some things better, differently, faster, you perhaps have to reinvent the wheel. And perhaps actually you can find ways to progress even without wheels. And that's what we talked about Lockheed and little fireflies, and it's all about flying without wheels too, progress being made there. So it's not about imitation, it's not about doing things which have been done before or what others are doing and you just copy and put into your own place. We have to reinvent the wheel. I want to go back some hundreds of years to Copernicus. He discovered that the world was not like it was being described by the establishment. The establishment said, it was written in the book, that the sun went around the earth. And Copernicus was asking the questions, and he was quite clear that the earth actually went around the sun. But he daren't share this insight with the establishment. In fact, he didn't allow the papers to be published till he was in his final days on his deathbed. He says, now it's safe for these papers to be published. I'm going to ask a question, actually. I'm going to make an observation. And since we are in a friendly crowd, I know that I don't take Copernicus's risk here. And I want to name something that Dr. Ramaswamy was dancing around, which is the connection between innovation, intellectual property rights, and patents. The means for getting money out of the things that you discover. It's a belief that all these must go together, they must go together. That if you don't have patents, you will not have innovation. And this is an establishment order. It shall be thus. And we have to question that sometimes. And I think together in this partnership, when we're talking about innovations that will help even the poor people to get the benefits of innovations, and not merely, as Dr. Ramaswamy said, increasing the profits and share values of rich firms and rich people. Let's go back, and I'm going to read an account of events in 2002 here in our own country India. It was a time when India was discussing with the World Trade Organization the introduction of TRIPS and its regulations in India. And the one sector that was most concerned, obviously, with TRIPS was the healthcare sector of our country. Not just our pharmaceutical firms, but more importantly, all the people concerned about the health of people in this country. And there was a lot of contention about the acceptance of that
established order. And in that time, a dialogue who had very opposing views on this matter, a variety of diverse stakeholders, foreign companies, and people here from India. And I'm just reading out now. It's from a book, Transforming Capitalism, Improving the World for Everyone. The outcome of this meeting was the recognition by all that the present adversarial process had contributed to the breakdown of trust amongst the parties. It was unlikely to produce the breakthrough solutions that were required to reconcile conflicting objectives. The effect on global negotiations of such a process would be the emergence of one or two likely scenarios. First scenario, principled stands. In this scenario, both the developed and the developing countries stick to their principled stands and continue to argue in a legalistic manner. Developing countries continue to reject several aspects of TRIPS, while developed countries continue to insist on its full implementation. This to and fro debate leads to increased polarization and distrust between the two. The deadlock remains. Scenario number two is uneasy truce. In this scenario, the developing countries reluctantly accept the current model of IPRS. I'm talking of 2002. There are several voices of concern, but they remain outside the official negotiations. Responding to their internal pressures, developing countries continue to find loopholes in TRIPS. Thus, the tension between the developed and developing countries, driven by each one's fears and ambitions, continues. All participants recognized in that meeting that neither of these is a desirable or sustainable outcome because they lead to increasing tension and distrust. It is also possible that, combined with growing concerns in the developed world, another scenario may emerge, that of crumbling edifice, a scenario in which some developed countries concerned about the impact of IPRS, the intellectual property regime that is, on their own populations, begin to question their own intellectual property regime model. And I go a year later, 2003, to the United States. India's reluctance to immediately comply with TRIPS was mentioned to an Indian business delegation, and I was a part of the delegation, by US officials in 2003 as one of the principal concerns restraining US companies' investments in India. The Indians explained the concern in their country that prices of medicines would rise. It's a concern in the country that prices would rise if India adopted the IPR regime mandated by TRIPS. They explained that there was a debate underway in India and various points of view were being heard. They expected that a solution would emerge, if given time, to suit India's needs within the framework of TRIPS. Some US officials were impatient with the political debates within India and cited them as one more reason why Americans found it more difficult to do business in India than in China. However, one senior US official said off the record that US pharmaceutical companies, which were pressing the US government to force India to unequivocally comply with TRIPS, should pause and consider the increasing lack of public support in the US for their case for high prices to support the development of new medicines, even amongst the US. So there is a need for us and the US and together to devise a new set of rules and regulations which will create more innovation that can benefit those who cannot afford to pay what you have to pay if you have to provide through the TRIPS and patents for those who have invested in the innovations. This question about the regime of patents and IPR
is not just challenging the healthcare industry, the pharmaceuticals, but many other, including right now the industry that Saurabh is very familiar with, the technology industry. In fact, as the big players, the so-called innovative firms, are suing each other, it seems, as one account in a US paper said, calculation, that they're spending at the moment more on their lawyers than they're spending on actually producing any innovations. So I'm making this request for us to dance together and create the rules required so that we can create, through innovation and entrepreneurship, goodness for all those in the world who today are not participating equally in the goodness that some of us are enjoying. So I say in this debate, let the lawyers keep debating the clauses in the agreements, and let the leaders and innovators come forth, along with lawyers too, to develop a new framework and a new way for enabling innovation. So I set this challenge to us, Ambassador, together. We shall together dance together, hopefully, and provide to the world at least one new idea of how we might improve the present regime of management of intellectual property through patents and through legislation. I wish the best to the Alliance, and we shall be working together. Thank you.
Your very valued direction and address. Ladies and gentlemen, time has come for the launch of proposal. It is about addressing 3 billion hearts living in India alone. We have 0.6 billion people living under $1 earning a day. That is called bottom of pyramid markets. So we launched the site. We'd like to show you a short video on the objective of Millennium Alliance. May I request the program team to kindly run a short.
The FICCI USAID Technology Development Board of the Department of Science and Technology Millennium Alliance aims to improve the living conditions of millions of people from deprived communities. It tries to do this by identifying and supporting innovations that have in them the potential of bringing about a substantial improvement in their everyday lives. Not only would these innovations be transformative, but also made universally accessible. The main areas of focus are basic education, water and sanitation, family planning and reproductive health, maternal and child health, agriculture and food security, and clean energy. The Millennium Alliance aims to consolidate the work that FICCI and USAID have already done by the various stakeholders. FICCI, for instance, and USAID have been identifying and encouraging innovations that have the potential of transforming underprivileged sections around the developing world in an affordable and eco-friendly manner.
Essentially, three kinds of support. One, to connect, have the sort of what is called the proof of concept, that this particular tie with some venture capital funds, some angel investors who will provide them the capital to the market or transfer it to other innovators.
One is food technologies of DFRL, a revolutionary technology launched by DRDO in a tie-up with FICCI are 6 twin or 240,000 gram panchayats across the country under the Nirmal Bharat Abhiyan.
So our vision for time to come is clear to how these technologies can be benefited for large social markets is our objective.
And Millennium Alliance, we hope to tap the enormous wealth of knowledge, talent, and resources that exist in India to discover innovative, publishing, high-impact public-private partnerships like the Millennium Alliance to bring these great ideas to scale. India will be a world leader in driving meaningful solutions to global development challenges. We look forward at USAID and across the US government to working with many Indian partners in this inclusive Millennium Alliance. Thank you.
The prime focus of all these innovations are the bottom of the pyramid or marginalized people in the developing world. The collaboration helps provide institutional support to socially conscious innovators from across the country.
TDB has been working for commercialization of technologies for quite some time. and some of these technologies have actually benefited the people at the bottom of the pyramid by way of bringing down the costs, by bringing in new products and services. So this TDB has been doing traditionally. What has also happened is that in this process, we were mainly promoting medium and large industries. But by partnering in the Millennium Alliance, we thought that we will also support the small enterprises, the medium level enterprises which are working for the bottom of the pyramid. Innovators which are working at the grassroots level could also be supported through the Millennium Alliance. And one of the purpose of TDB is that we reach out to large number of people and benefit the population which is unserved so far. So that is the intention with which TDB participated in the Millennium Alliance.
Website. I request our distinguished guest on the dais, Ambassador Powell, Dr. Ramaswamy, Dr. Rajiv Kumar, Mr. H.K. Mittal, and Mr. Saurabh Srivastav to join Mr. Mehra to launch this national initiative. Launching. Wow, launched. The Millennium Alliance is on. We will request all our innovators, NGOs, and social funds to take the benefit of this Millennium Alliance. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. To conclude this event, I'd like to request Mr. H.K. Mittal, Secretary, Technology Development Board, to kindly give his vote of thanks. And before I invite him, Mr. H.K. Mittal is the Head, National Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Board, Government of India, and also Secretary, Technology Development Board, and the most proactive Secretary of Technology Development Board India has witnessed so far, who has helped innovators, business community, encourage.
Small incident. We all know Albert Einstein, the famous scientist. He was setting a question paper for his students. He wrote down the questions and gave it to his assistant for typing. Those days, unfortunately, there was no era of cut paste. And he gave it to his assistant, and the assistant went and started typing the question paper. He realized that the questions which Einstein has said are all the same which were given in the last year's question paper. So he came running back to Einstein, said that, sir, the problems are all the same as last year. Einstein very coolly looked up and said, well, young man, I have changed the answers during the year. What we are trying to do is that we are trying to find the different answers to the same set of problems today. The problems are the same. The problems of illiteracy, problems of hunger. The problems are the same. We are trying to find new solutions through the Millennium Alliance. The solutions which are cost effective, which can be replicated, which can be taken to the world. That's the purpose of Millennium Alliance. And I must compliment our partners, USAID, the US government, FICCI, in implementing this program in the shortest possible from idea to execution. The time has been quite short. Yes, Mr. Arun Mehra said that we are celebrating innovation today. We are certainly doing that, and we have partners who bring in unique value, shared thoughts in this process. And it is my privilege, my honor to propose a vote of thanks today. And let me start with Shri Arun Mehra, the member of Planning Commission, for his thought leadership and providing support to this program. All the people here, especially on the dais, have diaries which get committed long before, but despite of their busy schedule. I must thank Ambassador Nancy Powell for the support, encouragement, and motivation that she's provided to the Millennium Alliance, and we value that. Thank you, Ambassador. I must thank Dr. Ramaswamy for the vision and the encouragement that he has provided us in execution and implementation of this program. I must thank Mr. Saurabh Srivastava as an individual who has seen it all, done it all, and he has been able to hold our hands, keep us on the ground when we take that flight of fancy in this program. Thank you, Mr. Srivastava. I take this opportunity also to thank Dr. Rajiv Kumar for bringing this all together. He's been that glue which Dr. Ramaswamy mentioned to bring the partnership together. I would also like to thank Mr. Williams from the USAID and his entire team for this very thoughtful initiative and a very valuable partnership. I would like to thank my colleagues who have joined us in this function, each one of you who have participated in this function. And we look forward to working with you very closely as we move along. Last but not the least, my thanks are also due to the media who have covered this event, and we hope to have your attention in future as well. Thank you very much.